Caleb Williams is probably the best quarterback in the draft. I'll concede that. I'm not going to be that guy that says Caleb Williams is not great. He's behind Bo Nix. He's behind Drake May. He's behind Michael Penix Jr. Like, that's stupid. So Caleb Williams is probably the best quarterback in the draft. But are we 100% sure he's a home run, slam dunk, Andrew Luck level prospect? I'm not so sure about all that. All the USC fanboys were in my mentions for weeks telling me I have no idea what I'm talking about when I've been pointing out some red flags for Caleb Williams. He's out in the stands crying. He's out in the stands crying after a third loss that wasn't more consequential than the second and first loss. He was not getting into the Pac-12 championship game. He was not getting into the college football playoff. So crying and saying you want to go home and cuddle with your dog and watch movies, there's nothing wrong with going home and crying and cuddling with your dog and watching a movie. That's perfectly fine. I got no issues. We've all got guilty pleasures. I've got them as well. That was weird to admit publicly. That was strange. So when I said red flag, there was USC fans in my mention saying, oh, you've never played a sport before. You don't know what you're talking about. You've never even touched a field. It's always the fat guys. For some reason, people call me fat. It's always the fat guys who have an opinion on sports. Like, no, that's weird behavior. You shouldn't do that. Especially Caleb Williams, who came after Max Duggan for crying. Maybe Caleb Williams peaked a little too early. Caleb, over the last month, him and the USC Trojans have lost 5 of their last 7 games. 65% completion percentage, 2,030 yards, 9 touchdowns to 4 picks. Not bad numbers. Those are not bad numbers for Caleb Williams. Generational prospect, John Elway, Andrew Luck type level prospect. Those numbers don't scream awful. Again, not here to condemn Caleb Williams. But is he John Elway? Is he Andrew Luck? He's not carrying his teams to victories. Wasn't good against U of A few weeks ago. Was awful against Notre Dame. He's been able to stay away from picks. But if you are the consensus number 1 overall pick, and USC has talent, maybe not defensively, but USC has some talent. This is the University of Southern California. This is a very prestigious organization, a very prestigious college, very prestigious athletic program. It's hard to just be like, well, he's got nothing to work with. Like, no, Josh Allen had nothing to work with in Wyoming. Carson Wentz had nothing to work with at NDSU. Jared Goff had nothing to work with at Cal. Aaron Rodgers had nothing to work with at Cal. Caleb Williams has things to work with at USC. So prior to this season, if you were the Arizona Cardinals and you had the number 1 overall pick, which could still happen, and you have Kyler Murray, and you could choose between Kyler Murray or Caleb Williams, and the Cardinals said, you know what? We're going to keep Kyler Murray. Prior to this season, and they put that pick up for sale, you could have called the Washington Commanders and said, we want Montez Sweat, who was on the team at that time. I'm well aware he's on the Bears now. Terry McLaurin, 4 first-round picks, 2 seconds, and a 4th. And you may have Caleb Williams. And the Commanders would have phoned in that call and made the trade happen instantly. Because that is what Caleb Williams was worth prior to this season. Now, because the inflation cost and what quarterbacks cost now, and I say inflation not because of Biden economics or Trump economics, I mean because it just has consistently gone up over the years. I mean, Trey Lance got 2 first-round picks. So maybe Caleb Williams still gets a package like that, but it's in question. It's in question. Caleb Williams, I'm not so sure. He was painted as this amazing leader, this elite talent, this guy who will take you to the promised land. And he has not delivered there. And emotionally, it's just been weird. Crying in front of everyone was weird. Saying you are going to go home and cuddle and watch shows with your dog because you're so sad, that's weird. Your quarterback shouldn't be saying things like that. He's supposed to be your fearless leader. You know what? We'll get him next time. That's who Caleb Williams should be. Ducking out on your media availability? Dude, you haven't proved anything. This is a guy who was leaking that he didn't want to get picked by some teams. He was just going to stay in college, right? Or that he wanted ownership of teams. That was a story that got out there. Dude, you haven't proved anything. Ducking on your media availability? You think that's going to work in New York? Say Caleb Williams goes to the Giants. They just lose a pivotal game to make the playoffs, and Caleb Williams was awful in it. You think that's going to fly in New York? You think you're going to be able to duck out on a presser? Dude, this isn't Idaho. This is USC. This is New York Giants. Football. Prestigious organizations. Caleb Williams, a slam dunk, home run level generational talent? I'm not so sure about that. Sure, he's probably the best quarterback in the draft. Don't take me for an overstated, nonsense talking head. Caleb Williams is definitely the best quarterback in the draft. But a slam dunk, home run, can't miss Andrew Luck level prospect? Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.